Hi, welcome to Geoverse View. My name is Sebastian, and today I'll take you through a basic tutorial of all the features and products of the latest Euclidean software release. By the end of this tutorial, you should have a full understanding of the toolbar features, project settings, the presentation viewer, internet streaming, viewer navigation tools available to you, as well as in the manual you can find a complete shortcut reference. Alright, so let's begin. This is Geoverse View 1.1, the latest software released by Euclidean, a point cloud viewing application. There's been an interface redesign, so let me take you through all the new features. As you can see here, you're able to create a new project straight from this interface, or even open a current project you're working on. Also, there's the drag and drop feature where you can grab a file directly from a folder and put it straight into the application. Right, so I'll just turn that off. You can see the whole new interface redesign, a nice colorway just to focus on the datasets themselves. First up is the About, which allows you to interface with your licensing features, etc. View Extents will reset your viewpoint on the dataset. We also have two measuring tools of metric and imperial. Project settings, which we'll get into later, save as, and the new open URL web streaming feature. Okay, moving along, we have open projects as well as the new projects button available also. The start presentation, which we'll get into later. Additionally, bookmarks, where you can select new ones, even labels, you can also add new ones there. We'll talk about those later. Measuring and the various buttons for magnification, turning, rotating your view, all the different settings whilst you're flying through the dataset itself, as well as the speed features and the XYZ when you interrogate a particular point. Okay, so next up we're going to do drag and drop. So I'm going to grab a UDS file from this folder. This is Goss's Bluff. It was 42 gigabytes originally, but we compressed it down to 4. So I'll just drop it straight into the application. There you have it, loads in less than a second. Now you probably noticed longitude, latitude, and elevation. Now this information is gathered when you hover the mouse cursor over any point of data. Alright, so some of the features we've got here is freeform flight mode, helicopter mode, the altitude of which is affected by these two buttons. You can also pan the camera view with these two, and zoom in and zoom out with these two buttons here in the map panel. Now in addition to this, you can also increase your speed and lower your speed. You can do this really high and really low also. Now whenever you drag and drop a UDS file, it creates a bookmark. Now in this bookmark there's various properties which we can adjust, but we can get into that later. So right now what I'm going to do is use a Microsoft controller, and we're just going to zoom along here. It's a fairly smooth experience. I think we'll take a viewpoint from this ridge line. Alright, so if you hold down your left mouse button, you can pan the camera and tilt it. With the right, you can actually go forwards. You can combine the two to navigate the map also. Now again, using the left mouse button, you can hold down and move the map panel and navigate that way. Now, in addition to these again, you can use the directional keys on your keyboard to move forwards, backwards, left and right, a combination thereof to actually go at angle. You can also use WASD keys. There's a few more which you can find in the manual. I'm just going to press View Extents and return to the original viewpoint. And there you have it, UDS file, drag and drop. Okay, let's add a new bookmark. Now this one was created when we dragged and dropped in the UDS file. So I'm going to go over to the crater itself and find a new viewpoint. Right, I think this will do. Now I'll just go to the Add Bookmark button. Now the title bar and change this. I think we'll call it Ridgeline. And as related to that data set, we can even put a description, play with the font size, even the font color itself, and also add a soundbar file that plays when this location is revealed in presentation mode. So I'll save that, get rid of the properties panel. Now we can skip between Goss's Bluff and Ridgeline viewpoints, just a click of the mouse. Now you can also use page up and page down, and this is the shortcut key. And that is how you make a bookmark. So let's go View Extents and return to where we started. Okay, so far we've done bookmarks. Now we're going to do labels. I'm going to engage the label tool. I'm going to add two labels. So this is the first one. I'm going to call that Midway. And let's do the second one. I'm going to call that Far, and I'll explain in a moment. Okay, we'll go back to the first. You can add notes. You can do font size. You can even do font color. You can also add a hyperlink. But what we're after today is the draw group. Now with the draw group, you can actually set the distance at which the label is visible. So for Midway, I'm going to set mid. You can also, as you notice, it's disappeared. You can make it permanently disappear from the map panel and main panel that way. Now in Far, I'll just set that to a far draw distance. And we'll turn off the tool and fly on over there. So what you'll notice is that something set to a mid-distance draw will appear only when you're much closer, and a far will actually fade out the closer you become. So it allows you to set up a label hierarchy, wherein locations are obvious from a distance, and then the more labels you can put in close in, so it creates a less cluttered environment. So let's go back to View Extents, and we'll look from afar. There you go. I'm going to go midway, and in the draw group, I'll set to always. All right, so as you can see, no matter what distance, you'll always see it. Now, I can show you here, you can delete these particular labels if you don't want them anymore. And that, in total, is labels. Okay, fly-through recording. So we go to the bookmark. On the Properties panel, you'll find the Record button. So we press that. Just navigate a very simple path for this particular example. That should be more than enough. You can come back here and just press stop on the Record feature, and we'll press play to review. That looks good enough for what we need today. You can also choose the autoplay feature on and off and save that location. So every time that it plays in presentation mode, which I'll go to now, it'll automatically start. So yes, there we go. You can also use the bookmarks button within presentation mode to select the same viewpoint, and automatically it will play again. Okay, so that's a recording of fly-through. So we'll go back, open up the Properties panel, and we'll just delete this particular fly-through. There we go, done. Alright, so next up we have the project settings. And these directly affect the presentation of your data set. So with main panel options, you can select a sky image or display a solid color, which you can actually select any kind you want. And then following this, we also have point display mode, which we're currently showing rectangles. But you can also select rounded rectangles or points. Now points are quite accurate, but rounded rectangles and rectangles actually perform a lot better. Now in map panel options, this allows you to overlay a copy of the data set on top of a Bing street map. We also use Bing aerial, etc. and hybrid. You need a WMS license key for this. Then of course you can display just a black background or put the data set opacity and change it so it blends in with the map. Following this, you've got labels where you can set the draw distances. Now these are arbitrary, but if you don't like the default, you can play around with those. Presentation options are quite self-explanatory. You've also got project font, which you can switch out for your titles and labels, the render resolution, and also button visibility, which is the last one there. Following this, we've also got the brightness and contrast, which allows you to directly affect the visualization of the data set. So basically you can draw the contrast, and then also fiddle with brightness if the data set has come out quite dark, and then saturation, which allows you to really enrich the colors in the data set. And then a crowd favorite is vignette, which allows you to soften the edges of the data set and very much focus people's attention. And then lastly is blur, which allows a bit more of a soft focus on a very harsh set. After this, we've got 3D viewing options where you'll need red and cyan glasses. Now you can just switch this on and off if you wish, and enable 3D mouse so the mouse actually hovers in the same space. And lastly, we have dataset options. Now each Geoverse project can have a single project dataset. If you'd like to change, add or remove this dataset, you can do so right here. And that pretty much sums up what you can achieve with project settings. Now of course, much more detailed explanations of everything can be found in the manual. Alright, let's move on. Alright, this is our latest addition to Geoverse. I'm going to click Open URL and we'll set up some web streaming. So I'm just not going to save Goss's Bluff. And here you can enter the URL of your dataset, put in your username and password, and save those to the project and it will appear there. So this is one I prepared earlier. Now in the manual you can actually see a much broader explanation, descriptions of the various features for security and so on, which no doubt your webmasters will be very interested in. So I'm just going to enter that in there and enter in our password. Now this is locally hosted, so once we're done here, it's actually going to bring up a couple of certificate dialogues, which we're going to ignore, just for the purposes of the file being local. Okay, so yeah, here's the first one. So yeah, I think we definitely want to proceed. Let's go through the next one. And from a different server, we're going to actually draw down a data set, and as you can see, it's an elephant. Now this elephant starred in Euclidean Island, which was our first example of unlimited detail, which you'll be able to see on Euclidean Official, our YouTube channel. As you can see in the bottom right, the point cloud has been drawn from that file remotely served. And in this way, you can actually see what you can achieve with a web stream data set. And now you can see it interacting with the XYZ. And there you have it, web streaming.